it's still that one singular part of Draisaitl's year, the power play goals. I'm laughing at all the clowns on social media that continue to say, oh, it's on the power play, it doesn't matter. First off, there's a direct correlation between Stanley Cups and power play success in the playoffs. And two, all of the goals count the same, whether it's power play, empty net, shorthanded, however you score it, you still need it. And I don't know why that's become sort of this knock against the Oilers, that because they score a lot on the power play, that suddenly they're less than anything else.
I always got a chuckle, and I made this point, I think almost a month ago now, but like Leon Draisaitl has his spot, right? He's down there by the goal line. Sometimes he creeps closer. Sometimes it's the one-timer from a little further away. And no one talks about that spot being his that much. And people would be like, oh, power play merchant, like can't score 5-on-5. Yet they idolize Ovi for doing the same thing on the other side of the ice, for having a spot and firing pucks from there. And it's just kind of funny how for Ovi, it was like best in the game at it, best goal scorer, all this. No one scored more than Leon Draisaitl in the NHL over the past 3 seasons. That's a fact. He does it all, or he does a chunk of it on the power play. Who cares? If it was that easy, every superstar would score a lot of goals on the power play, you know?
Yeah, and I would say, too, one of the things that makes this... Yeah, thanks, Liam. One of the things that makes...
Tyler looked at me when he asked the question and said, so I figured I had to answer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, always appreciate your contribution. And you know what did Alex Iafallo do to you, by the way?
Oh, he just drives me nuts. Like, this guy runs around poking goalies, all this stuff, and then he has 20 penalty minutes all season. Like, does he just do this against the Oilers? It just irritates me.
The chat called him Cry-a-Follow.
Yeah, I don't know. He just feels so irrelevant, but he just lives in my head.
Nickname.
It is.
So
Jay,
just
anything?
To put a bow
ahead,
on the power play conversation, one of the things really taking a look at the Oilers power play, as I wrote the story about Tim Kerr last week and Draisaitl, was what part of what makes, and Jason Gregor actually had a great story about this with some detail as well on ON, about part of what makes the Oilers power play so successful and so difficult to defend against is they're in a spot where there's constant motion. Like, yeah, everyone has their sort of favored location, and Draisaitl has his, and McDavid has his, and et cetera, but there's this sort of tornado of activity that exists around the play where it makes it so hard to defend because they're not stationary, they're not static, they're not in one spot, and they eventually get there, but defending it until they get there is what makes it so hard, and the confusion that exists, and that's part of what makes, I'd say, almost impossible to defend against. And to put a further exclamation point on it, this is the best power play in NHL history, bar none. And what Draisaitl has done already is more significant than what Tim Kerr accomplished with the Flyers in 85-86 when he set the record, because the Oilers will end up with about 80 fewer power play opportunities over the course of the season than the year that the Flyers, Tim Kerr set that record in 86. So just something to keep an eye on. Like, what we're witnessing right now, it's not just greatness with McDavid and Draisaitl, but also with the influx of talent on that power play and what Ryan Nugent-Hopkins does in that power play. It's a really, really special unit, so cherish it.
Yeah, I'm just going back through, I went all the way back to 1970. The Oilers at 32.7% this year is 0.8% above the 77-78 Canadians for best single season power play percentage. It's crazy.
And that Canadians team is, I think, one of the best teams of all time. Didn't they have 10 losses the entire season? Am I thinking of the right year?
Yeah, they went 59, 10, and 11 with 11 ties.
Pretty good.
Legit ties.
Yeah, straight up ties.
Not OT losses.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, I almost feel like we as a fan base haven't talked about the fact that their power play percentage is one of the best, or is like the best in the last 50 some years, half a century. No power play has been this efficient. That's insane.